one, go.
Hi everybody, how are you? Welcome to our live Zoom. I hope that you can join us. If not, like many hundreds of others, please have a look at us afterwards. We've had lots of questions coming in, and we're really happy to help wherever we can. You know, we set up the group because we wanted to be in service to people. So we're chuffed to bits that people seem to be getting something from this. So on that note, we also said that we're going to start bringing you some extra people in and extra help. And one of the chaps, you can see him, Jason Piper. He's a specialist sleep coach, and he joined the group a while ago. And he was posting and helping people. And we ended up having a conversation because he adhered to all our rules. He didn't try and jump in, and yeah, having a chat with him, understanding where he was coming from, and he wants to be in service and wants to help people. We just, felt that he was going to be useful to have within the group, so that if you do see him posting, you know that it's coming from somebody that is trained and does help people, other than just myself or Joseph, obviously. And we just thought he was a great addition to have, and we wanted to sort of introduce you to him and let him talk through exactly what he does and how he thinks he can help. One little issue that we have, Jason's across the pond. We're in Britain. He's over there across the pond, and we find that when his visuals on, we lose the audio. So he's
I
there
think
saying hello
that's
there.
I think that's cleared up now, Neil, for some reason. I don't know why, but it
Oh,
seems to
right.
have fixed itself. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, then we'll leave the video on. If we do
Sure.
start to lose the sound, we'll give you a heads up, Jason. Um, Obviously, Joseph's here as well. Say hi, Joseph.
Hi everyone, how you doing?
Brilliant. And we're going to kick off. And everybody, this is Jason Piper.
All right, me and Joseph and Neil. Hello, everybody. I'm Jason Piper. I'm a sleep coach. I have a company called Build Better Sleep. And what I do is I help people to rebuild their sleep so that they can start sleeping better at night. Because as we know, everybody wants to have high quality, they want to have enough sleep and they want to have high quality sleep. And, with the pandemic that's been going on, and even before the pandemic, people have been struggling with their sleep. And so I kind of came into the sleep coaching, sleep field a year and a half ago, because I noticed that there was not a lot of people really focusing on helping people sleep. Sleep is kind of one of those, what I want to say, everybody does it. It's like, all right, eventually, like, we go to sleep, but like nobody was really, when they did have a problem, there wasn't anyone there to really guide them and, point out, myths that are out there, or, daily habits and nutritional type of components that could be impacting their sleep. And I originally trained as a certified nutrition coach. And as I was working with clients, sleep kept coming up. And I was finding out how integrated, weight loss and sleep was, and then which further sent me down the rabbit hole of researching more and seeing that there weren't a ton of sleep coaches out there. So I pivoted a little bit and became certified through the Spencer Institute, and just finishing up another certification through the International Parenting and Health Institute.
Oh, we've lost audio.
We've lost you, Jason, audio, so you might have to turn your video off now. I think the problem's come back somehow. And we still lost audio on him. Maybe. Can you hear again now?
All right. Yeah, I cut out the video. Is that better?
Yeah, that is better, yeah.
All right, we're going to keep it. You guys got to see me for a little bit, Hopefully you can still fall asleep at night. All right. But so yeah, I switched from the nutrition coaching to sleep coaching because there was a big need for sleep. A lot of people have the mentality, I'll sleep when I die. They just push, and they don't realize how important sleep is and sleep quality is to everything that they're doing in their lives. because a lot of times the brain has this awesome ability to adapt and to kind of like set a new normal. So as people are getting less high quality sleep or short duration of sleep, their mood slowly changes, or their ability to like solve problems, or retain their things that they learned, or their memory. They don't really realize it. They don't see the drop in their performance because it's kind of gradual, and eventually the brain just normalizes it. And so I think people have been going so long in this like new normal that they forgot actually what their actual potential could be if they just focus a little bit more on their sleep. And we're so distracted nowadays between our social media that's out there, television, screens, light pollution. There's so much stimuli now coming at us that we don't even realize how much it's actually impacting our sleep. So I think that's a really long answer for how I got into it, but
No, and I know there's further backstory as well, which we may get into, but yeah, it's interesting how you can find out new stuff all the time. Joseph recently realized or found out a couple of things, didn't you, Joseph, about the bulbs and the Kindle?
Oh yeah. I had the Kindle on. I tried it with the backlight on, and then I started taking the backlight off at bedtime. And even with the backlight off, it affected my sleep. And I didn't realize it was because a different part of the brain actually engages when you're reading an e-reader, regardless if it's backlit or not.
yeah, I saw your post on that.
Yeah.
Like I want to go back and actually watch your whole video on that. But yeah, it's so interesting. Do you track your sleep with any like kind of a sleep tracker, or are we
No,
just
but
noting it as how you
I-
felt in the morning? And
I notice I've got a good memory, so I'll know the last 2 weeks how I slept every night. Roughly 6 hours, 9 hours, 8.5, that kind of thing, roughly.
yeah,
Was it disturbed? Was it a solid? You close your eyes and then you wake up in the morning as if
Mhm.
it was almost like no time's passed, but you feel refreshed.
Yes.
So yeah.
That's so cool that you notice that. Like that's just being in tune. It just shows that you're in tune with your body. For a lot of people, they don't connect stuff like that. Like I have a client that I'm working with, and she just recently got a television in her bedroom, which is one thing I highly do not recommend. But like she's going through a certain situation. Like, all right, it is what it is. But anyway, she's got a sleep. She got one of the like Fitbit watches, and she starts sending me screenshots of it, and her she's like, my deep sleep stages just have plummeted. They were like sitting at like 8%. And like sleep trackers they come with their margin of errors and stuff. But what I like about them is you can start to see like trends. Like even if that number might not be an exact of actually what's going on in you, it at least can show a trend where like, all right, I'm consistently always getting 15 or 20% deep sleep each night. And then all of a sudden it's dropping down to 8% or 9%. And so I started asking her questions, and she's like, oh yeah, I just got a TV in my bedroom. I was like, oh, really? How interesting. As soon as you got that TV in the bedroom, your deep sleep just dropped. And she was going to bed like at the same time that she normally was going to bed, but due to the the stimulation from just having that screen flashing and the blue light and the brightness, it stunted the release of her melatonin, and she was taking longer to get into her different sleep stages. So yeah, it's just pretty cool.
And it's amazing how without somebody there to ask us these questions, we don't realize we're blind. We're almost blind to them. Like they stare right in the face, and we're walking around like, I don't know what's the problem.
Yep.
It's something punching me, and it's myself. By doing
Bingo.
this.
Yeah,
And
I use that analogy. It's like the frog in the pot of water.
Yeah.
Like when you are in the middle of it, like you can't see the overhead view of like how everything's affecting. You're just in the middle, and usually you're reacting to everything opposed to being proactive. And so yeah, it's exactly it. And so that's what I aim to do is start to point out things that people might have blinders on to that could be impacting their sleep. Yes, Neil.
Yeah, I just interested because I love looking for trends, and I love to benchmark so you know where you're starting from. And doing that, there are, when you take on a niche field, you do tend to start to see similar trends happening. And I just wondered, with your time in this, are there any common trends that you're sort of already starting to feel or to see more commonly?
Like trends of like what people are doing, or like trends in like just the sleep industry itself?
Well, both actually. Yeah, I mean, that both of those are interesting. If we start with the trends within the people that you've been dealing with, or sorry, in service to and helping,
Yeah.
and then tell us a bit about the industry, because it's always good to get abreast of that.
Yeah. So like as far as trends with people, we're definitely in the Internet of Things. And so with that, there's been, a lot of people are now having, they got their Apple Watches, Aura Rings, Fitbit watches. We have a lot of these gadgets now that kind of give us a little bit more of a glimpse into each person's sleep, which is fantastic on one side. But then on the other side, it can start to stress people out, and because we get this like internal competitive nature of ourselves where it's like, oh, I want to get a higher score each night. Like I want to be getting 100% on my sleep. And what ends up happening is they start to create anxiety if, they miss their bedtime by 5 minutes, and then now they can't sleep for 2 hours. And like, you just get that negative feedback loop going over and over and over again. So, but what it's been nice is it also has brought the attention back to sleep. And, I think over the years, with industries and just society in general has paid a lot of attention to nutrition, with losing weight, eating healthy. They've paid a lot of attention to getting in shape. I mean, there's always some kind of new fitness fad that's going on, P90X, or, just hitting the gym, just anything that with movement. But there's another pillar, and that pillar is sleep. And I think we're finally starting to see that the rotation now, where sleep is no longer looked at as in a negative light. For much of society, someone that wanted to sleep, they consider them lazy, which is completely false, because that sleep is literally what the body needs in order to do so many of its repair mechanisms, both body and mind. And so it's really refreshing that people are now, and companies are even embracing it now, where yes, it's okay. Like, yeah, don't pride yourself that you slept in the office, or you pulled all-nighters, or sleep is only for the weak. You're starting to finally see that sleep is actually a superpower. Take a line from Matthew Walker. Sleep is our superpower. I compare it like a computer, for our brains. When we go to sleep, there's a lot of functions that go on our brains at night, because the body in a sense has to kind of shut down. You don't want to be, driving on the road and all of a sudden your brain has to do a reboot, and you black out and you're crashing. And so, at night, that's when our brain does its consolidation. It's moving our short-term memories to our long-term memories. It's cleaning out the garbage that, useless facts that we don't need or use anymore. And then also cleaning itself. There's a cool thing that they've just found out in the last year, that the brain actually has its own like car wash system, in a sense. It's called the glymphatic system. And what it does is, when we're sleeping, during the deep sleep stage, it kind of opens up the spinal taps and really actually like flushes the brain and gets rid of all of the I don't want to say like the garbage proteins that get produced, like the cell waste that accumulates throughout the day from your cells firing all day long, and it clears that stuff out. And what they have found, as they're expanding their knowledge about like Alzheimer's disease, is it's a buildup of these toxic or protein wastes that aren't getting cleared out of the brain, that they're finding a high percentage of them in people that are developing Alzheimer's or dementia. So it's great that they're starting to pay attention to that sleep is actually a necessity, and it shouldn't be frowned upon if someone says I want my 8 hours, I want my my 9 hours.
I totally wholeheartedly agreed with you when we were chatting, and one of the things we have something in common with is I have the pillars that I
Yes.
talk about within in the stress. And obviously when you said sleep was a pillar without knowing that, I knew that we had a connection. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I've worked or been present in some business cultures where the culture was you know, you're a wimp if you haven't been working till 2 or 3 in the morning, then getting up to a business meeting at 6 and work through your weekend and, you know,
Yep.
burn the candle at both ends. And you just see people crumble after years of it. And you're so right when you say the frog and obviously hitting yourself in the face. This thing creeps up on people quite
Mm-hmm.
often. So I was intrigued, as there isn't a lot of media coverage, as you say, was all about health and nutrition and dieting and fitness. And there's
Mm-hmm.
not really been. How are you finding clients? Are you finding that they're coming to you in quite a bad state, or are you finding people are coming to you when they haven't been having issues for too long?
Great question. It kind of depends. Because I've been, just contacting all different area, like businesses and clientele at the moment. So I've got clients that are coming to me because they're performance orientated. They want to get the best out of, either athletic performance or, they're just a hard charger in the business world and they want to be, top of their game. You got the people that are like into what they call biohacking and, they just want to like optimize their bodies as much as possible. On the flip side, I just partnered with a therapist group, a group of about 25 therapists. And so I'm their sleep coach for their patients if they're going through like an intake and they're identifying that like their sleep is trashed. So some of them are coming to me, with really, really poor sleep habits. Some of them are just a little bit, so there's going to definitely be a spectrum there. Then I'm working with companies where like it's more on the education front. I'm coming into companies and so much like when they're offering gym memberships or like the the Starbucks and all you can drink coffee in the corporations. It's just a perk for them. And if they can have a well-rested workforce, like it's a competitive advantage. And if company A is burning out their employees, they're tired. There's studies done over and over again. Tired workforce is going to have higher absences, higher related healthcare costs. Their decision making is going to be compromised. Their moral decisions are going to actually be compromised, which, what company wants to have scandals going on? And they're not going to be as creative, and there's going to be, more animosity and less teamwork involved compared to company B that is, embracing sleep. Yes, Joseph.
Yeah, I can relate to that because I had this problem with stress, which is the main cause of my sleep issues. But then I'd had stress for so long, I built up a ton of bad habits around that. So when that stress one day just dropped away completely, I still had all these bad habits like e-readers, phone, night in the morning, all other things, eating and various other things that stopped me sleeping so well. And I can relate to the performance issues at work because there's been plenty of times I've made mistakes and I thought, you know what, I wouldn't have made that mistake if I wasn't so tired.
Yeah.
And there's so much of that happens.
Yeah, and like I love what you just said too, where you're like, the things that you were using, like these bad habits, they were tools that you were using at that time. It was the
Just
best tools you had at. Yes.
For the stress at the time that aren't needed anymore.
The tools that you had at that point in time to help deal with a problem. And so that's what I try and come in to when I'm working with a client is, all right, let's see what tools you're working with now and see how like they are actually not helping, and then try and, build up habits and routines and give them tools that are going to empower them. Because I think that's one of the biggest themes that I come across with people with sleep issues is they feel powerless. Like they just, you just hear it in the way they talk about sleep and the way they talk about themselves in regards to sleep. You hear, I can't sleep. I never sleep. I'm a poor sleeper. And what we know is what the mind thinks the body follows. And so that language just keeps being repeated, and they just feel powerless, like they can't do anything about improving their sleep. Neil, I saw you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I talk about people losing hope. They've lost hope.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things I try to sort of get into to start with is exactly what level they're at with that.
Yes.
Because they often don't realize, and the realization can be that they're actually a lot worse off than they realized they were. So you have to handle that quite delicately, because you don't want to scare them. You don't want to make them feel any anxiety about it. But yeah, the one thing was with me is you had to establish whether or not they still had hope, because what I used to find was, although they were trying these positive conversations or meditation, when we got down to it, their last thoughts before they were trying to actually go to sleep were a little voice. They probably stopped hearing it because they've heard it so many times, but it went, you're still not going to sleep well.
Yeah.
I bet you still don't sleep well. I bet
Yeah.
this doesn't work.
Yeah.
So
or I'm going to wake up at 2.
Was one that said, you're not going to sleep, but they weren't aware of that. Sorry, Joseph.
That was literally me. And I just eventually thought, you know what, I'm getting older. It must be my age. I don't sleep well. There's nothing I can do about it. That's how it is. This is how it is. And that was it.
It's funny how we talk ourselves into that. I've heard that comments. Oh, I had £1 for every time I've heard that. Yeah, we'd all be millionaires. Everybody says that.
Yep. Yeah, and it's because, I mean, sleep is complicated. Like I have a saying where sleep is simple until it's not. It's easy to sleep when everything is going right. You crawl into bed, you go to sleep, you wake up. But as soon as that, you get knocked off the rails, like what I see happening is people trying like a shotgun approach, or they just start grabbing at anything because they just don't have the direction, and they want that sleep so bad, and so they just try things here and there instead of like formulating a plan, just like working out or losing weight. A lot of people just jump on a fad diet, and you lose weight for the 2 weeks because you starved yourself, but like that's not really a plan. Like that was just a temporary fix. And so you see a lot of the temporary fixes that people go to, where alcohol, sleeping pills, just scrolling on their phones until they literally just pass out, due to exhaustion. And it's wild, and so sleep is complicated, and it's personalized. Like I can give a lot of generalized advice, but when we really get down to it, each one of us is our own individual with our own environments, our own context. And that's where, working with a sleep coach or, just someone in the sleep field can be very beneficial, because they are able to, look at the big picture for you, try and see where what you're eating, what your room setup is like, what your work environment's like, what your stress tolerances are like, and start putting all these pieces together and start to see, like we were talking about, trends, and see like, oh, well, when you're eating this, you might actually have a food intolerance that's causing, a histamine response, at 2-3 a.m. in the morning, because that's when the body releases its strongest amount of histamine is around that 2-3 a.m. mark, and histamine is a stimulant. That's why people take Benadryl and it knocks them out, because it's an antihistamine.
Yeah.
And food intolerances can, not an allergy, but just a sensitivity to it. And it can change. I've had people where like they ate broccoli all the time, and then all of a sudden, like broccoli, literally their body was reacting to the broccoli. It was identifying it now as an enemy. And so they thought they were eating healthy, when in fact, it was actually doing more harm than good. Yeah, Joseph.
Yeah, and I've seen instances with antibiotics that
yes,
you take a large course of antibiotics, suddenly your gut bacteria is altered, your entire digestive immune response is altered.
Absolutely.
And suddenly you've got allergies you didn't have before, and old allergies might have gone away as well.
Yeah, and what they're finding so much cool stuff with the gut microbiome now too. And, the gut, I think, produces like 90% of our serotonin hormone, which is the building block for melatonin. And so, if you have a poor gut microbiome and it's off, you got an imbalance where there's more bad bacteria than good bacteria, and you're not producing the good amount of serotonin, well, your body can not only make so much melatonin because it doesn't have all of the raw materials it needs. Go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, the one thing that was just striking me was the complexities when you start to look at somebody holistically. And how do the clients, or sorry, the people that you're in service to, how do they adapt to that? Is it a lot to take in to start with? Because I deal with my clients holistically, and it has to be that mind, body, and emotions, as I say. And then my pillars include food, sleeping, laughter, all sorts of different things. And it's sometimes it can feel it's almost a little bit too much. We think it's easy because it's what we do. It's our thin slice of expertise. So it's stuff that we've absorbed for so long we don't realize. But when we start to share that with people, draw that from people, I have to manage that quite often with clients because it can seem a bit much.
Yep. Yeah. Same here, because, depending on how messed up it is, I mean, there could be like 5 different major areas that they actually really need to work on. And so, the way I like to approach it is as a team. I don't like to be the authority where it's just like, you need to stop doing this, you need to do that, stop doing this, you need to start doing that, or you should do this, because nobody likes to be should. And so, we work as a team, like, okay, here's what I see, do you agree? And then, all right, what do you feel really able and ready to start with first? And, I'll try and direct them, like, with 3 different things that hopefully will be big needle movers for them, because you got to kind of keep that motivation. You want something to happen where, like, oh, I did that and it, I slept or I went to bed a lot easier, or, just it gives them that motivation and that encouragement then to go to the next step and then the next step, just like losing weight. If you just did all this stuff and it took 3 months before you started losing some weight, like, you start to get discouraged. But, if you can take some smaller steps and, like, all right, you lost, 5 pounds this week, that keeps them motivated now for the next week.
It's interesting in this world of everything's moving quicker. It always makes me smile inwardly that somebody that could have had a problem for like 5, 6, 10, 20 years, and they think that within the first couple of sessions, hey, wow, I've got a magic wand, it's all going to be great.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, I suppose that's just one of those things with being a coach and being in service. Yeah, it is interesting how quickly you feel that they can be fixed or should be fixed. Yeah, perhaps that's a conversation for another time. But it always makes me smile, that one.
Yeah, Jason. So in your opinion, because people say it takes, I don't know, a couple of months, usually around 6 months, to start really ingraining a new habit. How long do you usually work with your clients for? How long do you usually find they start seeing results?
So the majority of my clients that I've worked with, we've been able to get some pretty significant results within 4 weeks. A lot depends again on their motivation and their consistency, because that's really what it is it's consistency over intensity. If someone wants to just do something like real hard for like 2 days compared to like something little over the course of a week, like the one that's doing it consistently is going to have, they're going to see the benefits of that. So I usually will have results, people will start to see those connections. Like I was just telling you, like with the lady with the television, she texted me then a couple of days afterwards, and she's like, I turned down the brightness of my TV, and lo and behold, her deep sleep actually went back up. So she was able to, make that connection pretty quickly. But in that 2 week to 4 week time frame, someone that has a really disrupted circadian rhythm, you can usually get that to at least get more on track within a week. Depending on how many hours that they're actually off track, but usually within a week you start to see a little bit of a difference. But again, each person's different. What is actually causing their sleep disturbance? And a lot of times it's a number of different things instead of one major thing. Is what I found. It's a thing here, a thing there, a thing over here, a thing over here. Similar to like the tools that you were talking about earlier. With you're not eating healthy, not exercising, looking at screens, stress just getting in the way. So all these little things, they start to snowball, and then finally, like at the base of the hill, it's this giant avalanche, and now the person can't sleep. So, then what we do is we just start working backwards and start, all right, let's fix that habit, and see how the body responds.
I have another question for you, Jason.
Yeah.
We get around about 80% of the people joining our group, somewhere around that. They believe their stress and anxiety, and sometimes depression as well, mainly stress and anxiety and overthinking, which is kind of related to anxious anxiety, is their number one cause of not sleeping. And obviously not sleeping then makes you more stressed out and more anxious. Yes. So it's a vicious circle.
Yeah, anxiety, racing mind is right up. I mean, that's like the number one. I'd say it's like that. And then people that are waking up, earlier than they would want, and they're not able to fall back asleep. They're waking up at that 2-3 o'clock time frame, and then sometimes they're able to fall back asleep after an hour, or like some of them are like, I can't sleep, and they're just up for the rest of the night into the early morning. But anxiety, racing mind absolutely is, right up there. And it makes sense. All right, go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, there's a lot of research around people waking up around 2-3 o'clock, and it's always stress related. So overthinking, always. Yeah. And the science backed that up. So I know as soon as I have a client, if they're saying they're waking up at 2 or 3 o'clock, I usually know where to go start to try and delve and to look. I would absolutely agree, and it's one of the things I've spoken about with Joseph and in the group. 100% of the people that were suffering stress or stress-related conditions and anxiety and depression all had sleeping issues, which is one of the reasons when we were chatting, we decided to set the group up for the sleep, particularly because I knew every single person that I'd ever dealt with that had stress had a sleeping issue. So they're absolutely linked. There's no way you can separate the two as far as I'm concerned.
So
not at all. Jason,
what's your sort of, I hate to use the word approach or technique because it's usually bigger than that for dealing with this, because obviously them getting more sleep will help their stress levels. So yes. What's your take on that? What do you make of it?
So, like, the first thing I just try and get people to realize, because we just live in a, let me gather my thoughts real quick on this. So, because there's a bunch of different ways I want to like come and make analogies and stuff. So, stress is just like a catch-all term in a sense. You got environmental stresses that can be hitting the body. You've got mental stresses that can be hitting the body. You got physical stresses that can be hitting the body. So the first thing is just trying to figure out, okay, what kind of stress are we dealing with mainly? Is it just mindset and, that mental stress of, anxiety, or is it, some kind of a physical stress or nutritional type stress? But we live in an overstimulated society. And so what I see a lot of people doing is they will go 100, their brain is going 100 miles per hour throughout the day. From the minute they wake up, they're on their phones, dealing with kids, going to a job they don't like, sitting in traffic, riding the train, all that kind of stuff. They get home, they're making dinner, doing chores, they're time crunched, and then they finally sit down to, try and relax a little bit at night. And either that involves usually television or scrolling social media, in which I'm sure both of you guys know, like, it's restful, but it's still very stimulating to the brain.
Oh yeah.
Because you're following along, and it's, you're getting light signals going, and your synapses are firing. And then they get up and they go into the rooms and they lay down, put their head on their pillow, and they expect their brains to go from 100 miles per hour to 0 as soon as they hit the pillow. And it just doesn't work that way. And so, it's just unrealistic expectations that the brain can just shut down just like that. And so what I tried, and this is something anyone can start to do, is think of the brain as a rubber band. All right. So ideally in the morning, after you got a good night's rest, in the morning, that rubber band is flaccid. It's just dangling there. And then throughout the day, stresses are going to occur. And so you start to stretch out the rubber band a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. For many people, they just let that rubber band keep getting stretched out more and more until they go to lay down at night. And then what happens is that's the first time in the entire day that they've literally given their brain time to rest and just start to process the day. And what happens is that rubber band gets released and snapped. And that snapback comes back as anxiety, racing mind, just their stress level goes up because their brain now is just like trying to process everything that happened through the day. So a tool that I give my client is practice like 5-minute little mini resets throughout the day. And it doesn't even have to be 5 minutes, even just a minute or 2 minutes throughout the day to just release that pressure a little bit, or that tension that's on that rubber band. So when you do go to bed, it's not pulled as tight. And then the other tool that I give them is a kind of equate to, like, when you work out, you're told to warm up so you don't pull a muscle, so you don't injure yourself. You want to get the blood pumping, get your muscles all loosened up. The same thing, sleeping is an activity. And I think a lot of people don't realize that sleep is an actual activity and that the body is actually really active during sleep, just not in the terms that, or in the frame of mind that we're used to being active. And so I tell them that there needs to be like a cool down or a power down for the body and the mind to get them ready for sleep. Turn off that TV, turn off the electronics, ideally an hour before bed, but, start small, start 15 minutes or a half hour, just so it's a lot of people are addicted to their electronics. Yeah, Joseph.
Yeah, I'm talking on an electronics addiction. I've had to get from my phone a forced, 10 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
It locks me on my phone.
Yep.
I have to pay money if I want to get into it between 10 and 8 a.m. in the morning. So.
Oh wow, that's cool. That's a cool app for where you actually have to pay money to get into it. Yeah. I like that. But so it starts working on a power down hour, because what it does is, if you're consistent with that power down hour, it starts to create a new habit for the brain, and it also creates a new association for the brain. And our brains love to make associations. And those associations it's anticipation also. Just like when you walk into the kitchen, you're hungry. Why are you hungry when you walk into the kitchen? Well, your brain has now learned that when you walk into this room, this is where food is. So you're going to start to salivate. Your stomach's going to start to growl because it's anticipating. It's starting to get your digestive system prepped for food that's going to be coming in. Same thing with your bedrooms now, is we're going to start to create these routines, these power down hours. So as you start to do them, your body then starts to release its melatonin. It starts to do this cool thing where it actually lowers the core body temp a tiny little bit to start the whole sleep cascade. Your blood pressure is going to start to go down. Your heart rate's going to start to slow down. And your brain waves are going to start to slow down. And so that way, when you climb into bed, your body is now ready to sleep, instead of laying in bed for an hour or an hour and a half, waiting for all that stuff to happen.
Yeah. And even machines, even engines, car engines, when you
Yeah.
turn them off, they're hot for
Yeah.
hours. They've got
Yes.
bubbling coolant going on. They've got stresses and strains. This is from my engineering background, like going on within the engine. Same as laptops, you've got components in there. You know, they take many hours to cool down. If it's a big one, they can take almost 8 hours. So
Yeah.
it's crazy to believe that we can switch like that.
Yep. And I think part of that comes from a lot of people just don't even fully understand sleep. They think it's a switch.
Hmm.
I lay down and close my eyes and I wake up, it's morning. But it's so cool what goes on in sleep while we're asleep. You know, they've hooked up sensors to the brain. And while we're in our REM sleep stages, so those stages is like where we're dreaming and when we're doing all of our memory consolidation. The brain is literally shows up on the graph the same amount of activity in brain waves as when we're awake. That's just mind blowing. The brain is just as active while we're asleep, doing different things as when we were awake.
Oh yeah, I recognize that because I used to spend a lot of time lucid dreaming, and I could have conversations and work out stuff at work while I was asleep. I even went between waking and sleeping and timed the difference, how much dream time was dilated to waking up time as well.
Yes.
That's another story there.
That's cool stuff. That is cool stuff.
I mean, the science just gets better and better, but in some ways they know less at times when they find out something. So yeah,
absolutely. It's like you solve one thing and then you just opened up a box of 10 other things now.
Yeah, I was listening to the radio this afternoon, and they had a dream coach on, and people were saying, I had this dream, what does it mean? And they're coming out with all these answers, and yeah, people forget to say those are theories and beliefs that somebody has with what's happening. We don't know. The science can't prove what's going on, except it can tell us there's a hell of a lot going on. There's a lot of activity. There's, the body repairs itself when it's asleep and in rest modes. So if you're not getting that, it won't be able to cool down properly. It won't be able to reset itself. It won't be able to do all the things that it needs to do to keep your car running. And with men, what I used to say is, you're treating your body like a Formula One car. And you're taking it for a survey of Fred Bloggs down the road. How long would Fred Bloggs be able to keep a Formula One car on a track for? And, I know he doesn't always work with the ladies, and I apologise. It's more of a male one, but boy, does that hit home at times.
Yeah, having those analogies is just like it just makes that connection so much easier, because they have a reference point now. Like, oh yeah, I understand that, and okay, sleep is not as complex as I was making it out to be, or
the body always does a lot of automated stuff, and most people aren't aware of it, and it happens in every part of our lives, from meeting new partners. We think it's all in our heads, or what our eyes are seeing, and there's so much science in behind it about pheromones and all sorts of different things. You've got the opposite DNA to the other person, so that if 2 and 2 becomes 4, your DNA gets stronger. So I mean, the body does loads of interesting things, and I could listen to the science behind it forever. One of the things I did want to get to, if I could interject at this point, although I already have, so if I could. There was a question posted, and I bounced it over to you. Would you mind, have you got it there to be able to read it out? And then would you be able to give us some idea, if somebody was presenting these issues, what you might be thinking, what you might be looking at as a way forward for that individual?
I can read it out for you if you want, Neil. I've got it in front of me now.
Oh, cheers, Joseph.
So this is from Lanny, and she says, how can I stay asleep during the night? I hate to wake up in the middle of the night. I usually go to bed about 11 p.m. and probably takes 30 minutes to fall asleep. Then I wake up around 2 a.m. I've tried to eat well, take antidepressants or sleeping pills, exercise, a mindfulness practice thinking, but it's not benefiting my sleep quality. Please help me how to get a better sleep. So that's from Lanny.
All right, Lonnie. So um, with this type of a question, I mean, there needs to be a lot more context to really be able to give, a more concrete answer, as far as what's, going on in your life, what your different environments are. But with that said, obviously you've definitely tried a couple of different approaches so far. So like one of my first questions would be, are you waking up at 2:30 and then you're up the rest of the night, or are you waking up at 2:30 and then you're falling back asleep? Because believe it or not, we actually do wake up. It's normal to wake up throughout the night. As we cycle through the different sleep stages, it's just most of the times we don't remember it because it's just a quick little blip, and we go back into the next sleep stage. So a lot of times it'll be, if you're waking up around like 2:30, you could just be coming out of one of your sleep stages, possibly your deep sleep stage, and as we do that, we come into the light sleep stage, and we can have, depending if your room's not dark enough or you have outside noises going on, that's usually the time that we'll wake up. It's also time like when we'll notice that we have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, because we're in that that light sleep stage. So I would first look at your sleep environment, make sure it's pitch black. If there's odd noises or inconsistent noises, try like a white noise machine or earplug, so you can block as much of the external stimuli that might be waking you up. The next one it could be more like hormonal, with cortisol levels and melatonin levels. Am I coming in clear, Joseph? I just saw I had.
Oh no, you are. You're perfect. I was just shifting. Right. Sorry, carry
on. So it could be hormonal, and for a lot of people that are under a lot of stress during the day, they have a high stress level, and there's a cortisol melatonin curve that naturally happens in our body. The ideal curve is in the morning.
Sorry, Jason, we're losing you there. You're broken up.
Gives us energy in the morning, and then it goes.
Sorry, Jason, can you just repeat that last
again.
20 seconds?
Sure.
You just broke up there.
Am I coming in good now?
Yeah, you are good now. Yeah.
Okay. So cortisol level, the body has a natural cortisol melatonin curve. So our cortisol levels rise in the morning to wake us up and give us energy throughout the day. And then come evening, the cortisol levels are supposed to dip and our melatonin levels are supposed to rise. But somebody that is under a lot of stress and is running very high cortisol levels, what happens is it suppresses the amount of melatonin that they're producing, and can actually lead to a premature cortisol spike earlier in the morning than what is ideal. So some people might be getting that cortisol spike, at 3, 4 in the morning, and that's going to keep them awake. It could be blood sugar crashes. It could be because as your blood sugar, if it crashes at night and you become hypoglycemic, then your body's natural response is to release adrenaline to boost your blood sugar levels back up. Well, adrenaline, as we know, is a stimulant, and it takes a while for the body to metabolize that adrenaline before you're able to go back asleep. I touched on earlier in our talk, histamines. If you have allergies, if you're having, either dust, pollen, animal dander, food sensitivities, you could have any one of those could be playing a role. And come 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, when the body is producing the most amount of its histamine, you're just getting a much larger dose of histamine because the body's trying to offset, the trigger that's happening. What are some other ones? Obviously, just anxiety and going to bed already with, this is a cool thing I always like to bring up to people, and I've done it myself in the past. So, you know, like when you have a big meeting or something big that you need to get up in the morning for, and you're like, I need to make sure I don't sleep through my alarm. I need to make sure I wake up at this time. And for unbeknownst reason, you almost always wake up before your alarm even goes off. And so it's cool. You can almost program your mind to be like an alarm clock. So if you're going to bed and saying, oh, I bet you, I'm just going to wake up again at 2:30. Well, guess what? You just set your alarm for your brain to wake you up at 2:30. It's you got that anxiety running in the background.
Yeah, because your brain doesn't understand negatives. If you
Yes.
say, do not wake up at 2:30, all it hears is wake up at 2:30.
Up at 2:30, yes. Yep, and the brain doesn't shut off. Like, even though we go to sleep, like the brain doesn't shut off. Like it's still, there's still stuff running in the background. And so the mindset around sleep is one of the major things. And that's what they work a lot with CBTI, which is cognitive brain therapy for insomnia. And it is changing the mindset around sleep. If you a good exercise for anyone that is having issues with sleep and insomnia, ask a loved one or a friend how you talk about sleep. Have them repeat to you like what you say.
Oh, Jason's vanished. I'm sure he'll come back in a minute.
Really interesting stuff. I hope people are going to get stuff from this. And remember, if you have any other questions, Lainey, please, if you want more help, we've just started with all the new starters, trying to say hello, welcome, and offer a free call for people that feel that they want to chat to myself or Joseph. It's what we do.
And if you want to get in touch with Jason as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Jason's back.
Yay.
Yeah. Sorry, did I cut out? I figured I cut out again.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you guys lost me, so I apologize.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jason. Let's just finish what you were saying. We've got a few minutes, and then we'll wrap up, and you can let people know how to get in touch with you.
Yeah. Where did you guys lose me at?
You were talking about an interesting thing
Mindset.
that when people just after setting the mental alarm in their head incorrectly for 3 a.m. instead of 7 or 8 a.m.
Yeah. So okay. So I was saying is a great little exercise for someone to do if they are having trouble falling asleep or they're waking up, in the middle of the night, is ask a loved one or a close friend to repeat back to you how you talk about sleep or how you talk about yourself in sleep, because it can be really eye-opening. And if they're repeating back to you like, oh yeah, you always are saying you're a poor sleeper, or you sleep horribly, or you never sleep. Well, that's the same language that's going on inside your head, and you're conditioning your brain to it's becoming your identity. You're identifying yourself as like an insomniac or someone that can't sleep well. And so once something becomes your identity, then the brain will do whatever it needs to confirm that identity and preserve that identity.
Well, this is where the other link was. Obviously, when we were chatting, and the group knows we're all about thought and where the reality comes from. So, yeah, yet again, especially sleep coach, and thought is one of the biggest issues. Yes, there's lots of other things that could be, but thought is one of the big ones. And that's why we knew we had that connection when Jason and I spoke. And that's why we were really, we were really chuffed that he said he would come on and have a conversation within the group. And I'm sure we're going to have Jason back again. Jason,
yes.
You've covered quite a few topics there. And what we'd like to say to Lainey was, if you do need extra help, just reach out to any one of us. We're going to put in the group Jason's details again, and Jason's in the group, so you could pose a question to Jason you know, if you wanted him to speak to you directly, I'm sure Jason would be happy to respond to that. So it's great to have you in the group. It's great to get to know you, Jason.
Yeah, I really appreciate both you and Joseph, having me, let me talk about sleep because I'm very interested and excited about it, and just helping people sleep better, because it just makes the world a better place. If everybody's got energy and is in a good mood, like, it's a win-win for everybody, right? Nobody likes to be crabby and tired.
So true.
So Jason, do you have a website or a way of people getting in contact with you if they want to?
Yes. So you can go to my website. It's www.buildbettersleep.com. Or if you want to just email me directly, it's info@buildbettersleep.com. Or within the group, tag me in there, or send me a message through Facebook. Any of those ways will work for get in touch with me and, see if I can offer you guys some assistance.
That's great.
Thank you.
I think we're out of time now, so I'm going to say goodbye.
Jason, it's been great having you on. I'm sure we're going to have you on again. Joseph, it's always a pleasure. I wish people got to experience some of your dry humor as well. This guy is so funny. I'd like to say a massive, heartfelt, warm thank you. We know people are watching these. We know people are posing questions. We do believe we can start to see that, hey, he's back, yay.
Yeah, I think I'll come back on real quick.
Yeah, it means a lot to us. It really, really does. And it's really nice to see that we are starting to potentially help, or people are saying it's being helped. I mean, we hate to say that we help people, but yeah, we get a buzz out of it. We're in service to it, and we're committed to it. And it's just fantastic that we can bring further things to the group and help more. So yeah, just look to everybody, have a fantastic week, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Good night, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
See you.